Let's talk about Six of Crows. Ketterdam is a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be bought for the right price. And no one knows this better than the criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker. Kaz is offered a chance at a deadly heist that could make him richer than his wildest dreams. But he can't do it alone. Kaz's crew are the only ones who might stand between the world and destruction, if they don't kill each other first. That is the very basic synopsis for Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Now, before going any further, I do want to say that I gave this book a 2.5 out of 5 stars, which for me means that it was okay. I didn't really enjoy it, but I can totally see why other people would really enjoy this book. Now that you know the basic synopsis, let's go ahead and get into my initial thoughts. I'm incredibly upset with how I feel towards this book. I was so excited to read it. However, something about it just didn't really click with me. I can't really pinpoint exactly what it is that I don't like about this book. Also, while reading the story, I kept having this fear that I was being spoiled for the Grisha trilogy. I didn't have any interest in reading it, so I thought I didn't care, but I think I might have cared more than I thought I did. I just kept thinking that I might have been understanding things better had I read the Grisha trilogy. And that's not really something that you want your reader to think while they're reading. Am I being spoiled for another series that I was told I didn't have to read first to read this? It really annoyed me. I was talking to Trina, and she had mentioned to me that maybe I had held the book at arm's length because I was constantly afraid of being spoiled for the other series. That is possible. Maybe I didn't invest myself enough. I would advise that if you do have an interest in reading the Grisha trilogy, just read it first. With that being said, I have 3 main topics that really kind of determine my rating for it. The first one being the world. I didn't connect with the world as much as I wanted to. I felt like some aspects weren't described fully, weren't given enough detail. I'm not sure if this would have been different, or I would have viewed this any different, or my opinion would be swayed one way or the other had I read the Grisha trilogy. I'm not sure if it sets a better foundation for the world, because so many people talk about how much they love the world of the Grisha, and that's really what drives their interest in reading the Grisha trilogy. But I just felt like the world was kind of like messy and sloppy and didn't really flow very well. I had a really hard time picturing anything. Perhaps I would have gained a better understanding had I read the other series. I don't know if I just don't like the way that she builds her world. I'm not really sure, because so many people really like this world, and that's why they're so excited by this book. Regardless if I would have gained any more knowledge of the world had I read the Grisha trilogy, if you are marketing these as being independent of each other and can be read independently, I need you to build this world better. I need to have a better feel of this world. You cannot rely on the fact that your readers probably read the Grisha trilogy and not expand on your world. I felt like I was literally dropped into these people's lives on a random day with no real introduction to the characters, the world, really anything. It's not like it was marketed as being a follow-up to the other series, or like a continuation like Bloodlines is to the Vampire Academy, The Dark Artifices is to the Mortal Instruments. It's never compared to like that, so I didn't think I needed to read the other series. Started from the ground zero and built everything up in this book again, just to make sure that those readers who hadn't read the other series understood and really cared about this book and these characters and this dynamic and world. That's just how I feel. So let's move on to point 2, which is the characters. Like I mentioned before, we are literally dropped in the middle of these people's lives. There was no real preamble or introduction to these people or their lives or what they were doing. We saw them in the present and we followed them very much in a present timeline, and then there were tons of flashbacks throughout the story, but the flashbacks were very sporadic and very short. So you only learned a little bit about each character at a time, and they started very soon in the book. Too soon, in my opinion. I didn't care about the characters enough to really want to know their sob stories. I really needed to connect with the character that I was reading about, who they were in that present moment first, before I really could care about what made them be that way. It's kind of like a lazy way of describing the characters to me, rather than getting me to really care about them as they were in that moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't even know if I understand what I'm saying.
It's like if you were on a first date and the person in front of you is spilling their guts about all their sad stories and their traumatizing childhood, and you're like, whoa, I don't know you that well. We are not that close. I don't need to know that yet. That's kind of how I felt. Maybe once we were in a committed relationship, then you can tell me that stuff. and then I will feel and empathize for you because I know you and I care about you already. Do you get what I'm saying? That was a perfect analogy, Jordan.
With that being said, I really liked Nina and Matthias's backstories. I liked how the backstories enhanced them. I thought that their relationship unfolded the best in the story. Those two characters is what drove me to continue reading. I didn't even care about the heist anymore. I just truly wanted to learn about these two characters, and they're the only reason why I finished reading this book. So let's move on to my third point, which is the heist. Yes. The big marketing ploy of this book, what it is being broadcasted as throughout all of the lands. I'm getting very frustrated. It's happened twice now in the last 2 months. Books that market themselves as being something, but then don't give me that something until the last third of the book. It's really frustrating. Like, I want it to come into play sooner. I don't want this build-up of all this other crap that I don't find really all that interesting to begin with. And then finally, once I've gotten irritated enough with the story that I want to throw it against the wall, do you give me the thing that I picked it up for?
I liken this to those commercials that you see at the end of each episode of Shadowhunters. They only promote the last 10 minutes of the next episode. When you go to watch the next episode, you're waiting for what's been in that promotion for the last week. You're just waiting for that moment. And you sit there for 50 minutes and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then finally, the big promotion selling point of the episode comes into play in the last 10 minutes and you're like, it's very frustrating and I don't like it.
So in my opinion, the heist came in way too late. I believe it's first mentioned in chapter 3, very early on in the story. It doesn't start to play out till chapter 21. So from chapter 21 to chapter 3, what is that? 18 chapters? What do we do for 18 chapters? We get character backstories. Now that would be fine if this was a 6-book series, but this is a duology. I don't need that much in-depth knowledge of these characters. You have 6 characters, so you have to give the backstories for 6 characters, along with the present lives of all 6 characters. Just a whole lot of character stuff. Couldn't you have saved some of the mystery of these characters for book 2? I feel like I learned everything about them in this book, and I just don't think it was, like, equally balanced, giving me the heist that you are telling me this book is about, and also telling me what the characters do. And then by the time we even got to the heist, I was so annoyed and irritated that the heist didn't even save it for me. Normally, if a book has a stellar ending like that, even if the beginning part was slow, it will save the book for me. In this case, it wasn't, and I just don't understand why. I did find myself, though, very intrigued by the Grisha and the Grisha powers. I wish there was more time spent on the Grishas. Now that probably is more developed in the Grisha trilogy, but I didn't read that, so I don't know if it is. So all in all, those were the 3 main things that I had an issue with in the story. I'd love to know what your thoughts were on 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye! Let's get into my initial What is an initial? All in all, those were... No. Stop putting your hand up like it's a chicken wing you can't control.